Hello, very and welcome to Progress Junior Golf,
Hello.
Live Sport Now, and the England Golf Young Ambassadors. My name is Steve Jackson, and this is Ian Waterhouse.
Steve, it's good to see you again. I know it's only been a couple of weeks, but it does feel longer than that for some reason. I don't know why. I just don't know why.
You just missed me, that's why.
I did. Well, if that's what you want to believe, then fair enough. Now, this week, you may have known, I've gone for a slightly red theme, a slightly darker red theme. Try and match my T-shirt, actually, a little bit. Actually, it matches the red shirts worn by, we've got a picture coming out. I won't spoil it. I'll let you lead in with that a little bit later as well. Steve, can I just do a little bit of housework before we get going with the podcast, before you explain the cracking episode coming up, of course. Just a quick reminder to everybody, the live chat is open. This is an interactive show. We want to hear from you guys. So as the show progresses and you've got something to say, please do comment. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn. Best place to comment is probably at YouTube at Live Sport Now. There's a little QR code up there. You can scan that. It'll take you into the live chat section, or there's a link in the body of this broadcast. Give it a click if you're not watching it YouTube. And please subscribe. Do comment. We really, really want to hear from you. This is an interactive show. And Steve, it's going to be a cracker.
Absolutely, yeah. So this podcast is all about junior golf. It's about the next generation of golfers. It's about getting more boys and girls playing the game of golf. This is show number 42 on the Progress Junior Golf podcast. And today, we're going to be talking about tennis, cricket. Football. Oh,
see what you do.
Hold on a second. Someone's written the wrong script here for me. No, they haven't, because we are going to be indeed talking about tennis, cricket, football, hockey, skiing, rugby, athletics. We're basically going to be talking about all different sports and how that interacts with golf for juniors.
Yeah.
So lots of things really that we're going to be looking at, whether it's good to play lots of different sports at a young age, whether it's better to specialize in one sport, perhaps when you're a little bit older, whether it's good as a positive, whether it's negative as well, when you're playing different sports, the team, individual sports aspects of it, injuries, the costs of playing 2, possibly 3, 4, 5 different sports at a young age. So lots of different subjects to talk about. As always, though, we need some experts to talk about the subjects. And as you well know, Ian, earlier this year, we were at the Sunnydale Foursomes, way back when it was snowing.
Feels like yesterday, though. It was a long time ago now, but I remember it well. And it just amazes me how quick the year goes.
We picked the right day to go as well, didn't we? Because the following day it started snowing, didn't it? And they had to call it off. So...
Oh, devastated.
Yes.
Devastated.
But
yes.
In that competition, which for people who aren't aware, it's a pairs competition whereby you tended to have sort of the top amateurs playing with top professionals, but you had some celebrities and some sports celebrities as well. And one of them was former England cricket captain Sir Andrew Strauss, and he played in the Sunnydale Foursomes, did quite well. I think he got through to the second round. In theory, he is a joint winner because he made it through the next round.
He's never lost. Never lost at Sunnydale Foursomes. Well, actually, he might have. Has he played in it before? So he's never lost in 2023
That's
at
correct.
Sunnydale
Absolutely, yes. And I did say there, actually, Sir Andrew Strauss as well. We have to say so. So the first time we've had a Sir on this program, I don't think you're a Sir, are you, Ian?
I don't think I'm ever going to be.
No, I think we've
not much chance of that.
We're fairly safe on that one, right? So you say so lovely to have a Sir on the show. We've got a pre-recorded interview with him talking about, obviously playing as a cricketer and a golfer at a young age, and obviously now playing more, let's say, more golf now than perhaps more cricket than he is at the moment. I will tell you a story actually of Brian Lara. When Brian Lara made his famous 400 not out for England against England for the West Indies, he couldn't sleep on the final night. I think it was something like 300 not out overnight, and he couldn't sleep overnight. So he got up early in the morning and went and played 9 holes of golf that morning before he went.
Wow, yeah. That's so.
But Brian Lara, left-handed batsman, right-handed golfer, because he didn't want to affect his cricket. So fascinating how the fact that even within 2 different sports there, he didn't want one to affect the other, which is a point actually which Andrew Strauss mentioned, but we'll come to that a little bit later. Also, a couple of weeks ago or a month or so ago, I was at the Ladies European Tour event at Centurion Park, and I had the very good fortune to speak to pro Emma Spitz. Always been a very talented young golfer, but also played a lot of hockey as well when she was younger. And of course, someone who was brought up in Austria, unsurprisingly, enjoyed her skiing as well. So as a youngster, so obviously different sports there. And we certainly talked about the aspect of possibly picking up injuries when you're playing a different sport as well. So it's something which we chatted with her. And finally, fingers crossed, touch wood, we have hopefully, possibly, a live guest coming on, because we've got Ladies European Tour professional Cara Gaynor. There are a few technical issues here, aren't we, Ian? And hopefully she might turn up at some stage. And
she's not here yet. Is our technical issue. So Cara, if you are watching, if you've got a problem, email Steve, let him know. Yes. We'll really hope so. If not, don't, if you can't get in for whatever reason, don't worry about it. It's still going to be a cracking podcast. We'll get you on next time if we can't get you on.
Absolutely.
But fingers crossed we'll have Cara Gaynor on very, very shortly. She's been very busy recently, so it'd be lovely to hear from her. But of course, golf comes first, Steve.
Of course, yeah. I mean, just to give you a little bit of a background, I mean, she played in the Women's British Open a couple of weeks ago, and winning a major has been, one of her aims from a very young age. Winning a major in tennis, though, because as a youngster she was a very, very good tennis player, and only really took up golf late in the teens. So hopefully we'll get her on. We can have a chat with that, and obviously fascinating to hear her journey. Almost like two journeys going along side by side: one golf, one tennis, and in the end she went down the golf route as opposed to the tennis. And obviously, what a decision, because she's playing on the Ladies European Tour and
that's worked out well,
and being very successful at doing it. So yeah, right now. Hopefully, whilst we do the news, we'll get to Cara on the show, and if not, then obviously we've got plenty to talk about anyway. So, but first things first, then let's look at the latest junior golf news. Then something which was mentioned in the last podcast news, which was actually happening while we were doing the podcast, was the Home International. So we'll start with that. It's a mixed competition now. It used to be just a boys' competition and a girls' competition, but now they do it as a mixed competition. I think last year was the first time they did it as a mixed competition. And England won it this year. They beat Ireland. Actually, it was almost like a winner takes all, because Ireland and England went into the final day having won both of their matches. And let me tell you, dominant wins as well. So England on the first day beat Scotland 17-4, and Ireland beat Wales 17-4. So absolutely dead level going into the second day. England beat Wales 15-6. Ireland beat Scotland 14-7. So literally just 1 point in it going into that final day, and it was very close. In the end, England won 13-8, so they beat Ireland 13-8. Scotland beat Wales by a couple of points to finish in third position, though. But actually, that victory, where I say it was a mixed competition, it really came down to the girls. They were the ones who made the difference, though, because they beat Ireland 8 points to 1 in that final group match. So really, it came down to the girls who kind of like dragged the boys over the line. And actually, interestingly, there was a boys separate competition as well. And unsurprisingly, Ireland actually won that, because they were the ones who did better against the boys. The team was, the important points actually for Ireland came from Sean Keeling, Jack Murphy, Gavin Tiernan, and James Walsh, and also Donica Cleary. They won the singles, and they basically just took Ireland over the line to win the. Actually, the first time they've won it in a decade. So well done to Ireland. Right, staying over in Ireland then. Connacht.
Well, hang on, Steve, we've got a picture, haven't we? Should we show the picture? We've got a picture of the England Home Internationals.
Just to prove that they did win it. Yes, let's get that.
There we go. The reason as well is because the red of the bar matches the red of what I've got running across the bottom. Can I just say Maggie Whitehead there on the left as well? Know her family very well. Big up the Whiteheads up in the northeast. Congratulations to them. Remember that name as well, by the way. You probably already know it, but Maggie Whitehead, boy oh boy, she's some player.
Absolutely. Well, there was a lot of players in that picture there who have been mentioned on this podcast on many occasions who I think have got some good careers ahead of them, I tell you. So well on to them. Right. So sailing Ireland then. Connacht Boys Close Championship. 3 age categories there. Under 17 was won by Ben Doherty. Under 15s was Patrick Tuffy, and under 13s was Rory Freeman. Ireland again. Leinster Under 16 Boys Amateur Championship. Open Championship was won by. Oh, this is a great name. I hope he wins more competitions, this lad. Finn Jolly.
Finn Jolly.
I mean, in Ireland, to go on a jolly, literally, you go on a Finn Jolly, don't you?
Finn, top lad, top name, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, and well done too, obviously, it sounds like a half-decent golfer as well. Right, more photos, because this was an event whereby I took one of the photos here, or actually I took both of these photos. Faldo Series then took place. They had a couple of events in the last few weeks or so, or actually 3 events. Isle of Purbeck down in Dorset, down your neck of the woods. Have you ever been there?
Well, ish, my neck of the woods.
Closer,
I'm in Berkshire.
closer
Dorset's a bit of a way, but yeah.
closer to you than me, shall we say? So, have you ever been there?
No, I've been to Dorset like twice, but
okay. All right. Well, that's that. So I've been there once now. So yeah, so photo of the winner, Luke Metcalf, won the overall category, boys under 18s championship. As you can see there, beautiful views, some stunning views of the golf course. I was there on the first day, took photos on the first day. Matthew Fowler, who helps run the tour, I spoke to him a week later, and he said he absolutely chucked it down the rain the second day. So I certainly picked the right day to go along to take the photos, and it was a gorgeous day. So Luke won the overall boys under 18s category as well. James Brash won the boys under 16s, and the girls, which now is under 21 category, was won by Ava Bates. Now a week later, up to Wales at Convy Golf Club. Once again, boys under 18s was the overall winner. This was Alex Japp. Got a photo of Alex here. Weather on the day that I went on this occasion wasn't quite so nice, shall we say. Actually, that was one of the few points whereby it wasn't raining. So I managed to get a nice photo of him.
That was a good shot, yeah.
Teeing off on I think that was the 4th hole, if memory serves you right. So he won the boys under 18s. The boys under 16s was Archie Cook, and the girls once again under 21s was Izzy Hurrian. At the same day, same couple of days, they had an event over in Ireland. It goes without saying, I couldn't be at that one because obviously I was at Wales. That was won by
Slacking, Steve. Slacking.
I know, shocking in that. I should have got a flight over there, and I should have had a jolly, shouldn't I, in Ireland?
Yeah.
Right. Yes, I give up. Yes. Right. The winner of that one was Dylan Keating. So he was under 21s boys category. Under 16s was Mark Caden. And the girls was won by Holly Hamilton. Right. Big competition, though, which took place once again. It was actually taking place, or I think it started when we did the podcast last week. The Reed Trophy, which is the England under 14s championship, was won by Juan Miro Osere from Spain. And he beat Sullivan Goddard in the final. He beat him in playoffs. Now, I know you've covered some of these England golf competitions in the past. I think you would have loved to have covered this playoff because this was one of the best playoffs I think you're ever going to see. So, on the first playoff hole, Goddard holds a long putt for birdie. So does the Spanish rival. Bangs it in from distance to half the hole. Next hole, par 5. Goddard chips up to 2 inches for a gimme birdie. And his playing partner goes and holds from 30 feet for eagle to win the playoff. I mean, wow. That is some stuff.
Must have thought we won it when put it at 2 inches.
Absolutely. And you can imagine as well, when it's getting close to 2 inches, he probably thinks he even hold that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the irony about it was, if he had, it wouldn't have made any difference because the guy just hold from 30 feet for eagle to mark. Yeah. But wow. I mean, what a playoff that was.
I love a playoff, Steve. Or even though it adds on to the day. You've done 4 hours at least of live coverage, and then you find out, right, playoff, it's going to go into a playoff. But I don't know. I don't care. There's something special about doing a playoff. Like, you see it in the players' eyes. They're different animals. Do you know what I mean? When suddenly they've been playing stroke playing, and suddenly it just comes down to it's man against man, or woman against woman, or just team against team. It's a different animal. I love it. Absolutely love it.
And that's match play golf, isn't it? And the beauty about these competitions, they obviously do stroke play qualifying and then into the match play. Actually, the stroke play qualifying, I think. No, actually, in that instance, it wasn't for their competition. It was just straight stroke play, and then it just happened to be a playoff. They finished on 208. So the winner was Juan Miro Osere. He shot 72, 65, 71. And Sullivan shot 71, 65, 72. So some cracking scores. Actually, I looked at the field for that competition. Bear in mind, it's in theory, it's supposed to be called the English Boys Amateur Championship. Players from all around the world playing in that competition. I think there's a couple of.
It's prestigious, Steve. That's why it's a prestige. It is. It's a prestigious event now, and full credit to England Golf for opening it up and making it that. I've got a couple of stories I could tell which I'm not going to tell. But I like it. It's very forward thinking from Ben and the team, to sort of embrace different nationalities, whereas before it would be very much, well, we have to have an English winner. The world's a smaller place.
Absolutely. Right, staying with under 14s, then the Scottish Girls under 14 Championship, actually, and the under 16s competition took place up in Scotland. It was won. The under 14s were won by Ariana Virrick, and the under 16s were won by Molly Campbell. Now, the interesting thing about that is I know both of them, so I was delighted that both of them won that competition. And actually, one of them was mentioned in the story. I might have said to you on a few occasions, an event last year which I helped run, whereby there were some issues with the competition, and one of the issues was the fact that they had 3 girls playing in 3 consecutive 3 balls with 2 boys, and nothing against the boys whatsoever, who were really nice boys, but all 3 girls walked off the golf course with exactly the same story, the fact that it was quite a lonely round of golf for them, because the boys were walking off to the tee together talking, and the girl was walking off to the girls' tee, but I'm pleased that was Molly who played in that, and I'm pleased that that she's had a better experience. And the irony about it is that competition which she won in Scotland was exactly the same week as the competition she had this time last year where she had the issue. So almost 12 months exactly to the day, and she had a much better experience than she did a year ago. So I'm pleased for her.
That's good. Yeah. That is nice to hear. Yeah.
Right, Scottish Boys under 14 Championship, that also took place the same week. That was won by Konstantin Bauer Mittelainer. Tell you what, I'm going to have to do some.
You're doing well with these names. You are doing well.
There's a lot worse to come, I can tell you. From Austria, so mentioned about English boys, the Scottish boys as well, attracting players from all around the world. Actually, staying in Scotland, the Junior Tour Scotland, they had an event at Royal Musselburgh. Cameron Mukherjee,
Cameron,
many occasions on this podcast, he won the boys competition. The girls was won by Ailey Henderson. Right, girls amateur championship then. Once again. So this is one where you have stroke play qualifying, then through to the match play. There's one, I think, did we got a photo? No, we've not got a photo of the girls. We've got a photo of the boys winner of this one. But the girls winner was won by Helen Bream from Germany. The first German to ever win the competition. So very congratulations to her for winning the competition. Stroke play qualifying, she finished 6th. And then when she got through to the knockouts, wow, she was impressive. First round, she won 5 and 4. Second round, she won 5 and 3. Third round, she won 5 and 4. Into the quarterfinals, won 2 and 1. Semi-finals, 2 and 1, who beat Isla McDonald O'Brien, who we know. And in the final, played over 36 holes. She won, wait for it, 12 and 10.
Wow.
Yes. So 9 birdies in the 26 holes.
So it certainly wasn't played over 36 holes.
No, it wasn't. No, it was played over 26 holes to be precise there. But I mean, I mentioned a round 3 or quarterfinal, semi-final, and final. Not at any point in any of those 3 matches was she behind. And I suspect, bearing in mind she won 5 and 4, 5 and 3, and 5 and 4 in the first 3 matches, she probably wasn't behind in any of those 3 matches as well. So
yeah.
That's how to win match play. I know you love watching playoffs and all that, but
I do, yeah. I love match play.
Just get yourself 2, 3, 4 ahead to start off with, and then coast in.
I like match plays when they're a bit closer than that.
A bit closer than that, yes, absolutely, yes. Interesting. The top seed through to match play was Maya Ortengren from Sweden. She shot 69 and 67, so 2 cracking scores to get through to the knockout stages. Right, we've got a photo then of the boys amateur championship because it was won by Chris Kim.
I actually think, Steve, Helen's in this picture as well. Let's have a look.
You might well be right. Yes, it is a photo of the pair. So let's get the photo of the pair together.
I thought I pressed it. Sorry.
So all spoilers there. There's Chris on the right and Helen on the left there. So Chris Kim from Walton Heath. He qualified. So we said Helen qualified in 6th place. He qualified from the stroke play in 7th, and then made it through to the final. Once again, went through to a playoff again. Once again, drama in the playoff. And so we talked about a fantastic finish to the playoff, didn't we, there, Ian, with the other competition? Well, a fantastic finish to this one, but possibly for all the wrong reasons, because the player he was playing against was an American called Alex Papayona. And on the second extra hole, he had a 3-foot putt to win the final and missed it.
Oh.
And then missed it again.
No, not
3-footed from 3 feet. So, credit to Chris Kim, who obviously benefited from that. But do you want to win like that? I suppose you don't really care at the end of the day, but
well, you want to win, don't you? At the
absolutely,
end, it's not his fault, is it?
No,
he didn't miss.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're cruel, aren't we? But yeah, but drama as well. You can imagine you can imagine being in that crowd and you commentating on that. You go, oh no.
Yeah, you'd feel a bit bad about talking to them after, wouldn't you? But you know, that's a learning curve, isn't it? That's one of these where do it now, experience it, and learn from it, because there's going to be many more opportunities to win again. Hopefully, I'm sure there will be. If you can get yourself into a position once, you're clearly good enough to do it again. And it could be one of those life-defining moments where I blew it that time. Yes. I won't make that mistake ever again. And it could be what you need to just get over the line every time going forward.
Absolutely, yeah. But well done to Chris, who did really well. So in the knockout stages, he won 3-2, 2-1, 3-2, and then 4-3 in the quarterfinals, semi-finals 2-1. The interesting point was the fact that from the stroke play qualifying, the top two in the stroke play qualifying was Jack Murphy and Conor Graham, 700 pole, 136. They came in with. Both of them lost in the first round of the knockout. So, you know, stroke play doesn't necessarily translate to match play. You know, it's completely different formats. And I think actually in the case of Jack, I think he lost quite heavily as well. So interesting, the different formats there. Now, I mentioned Conor Graham there. Walker Cup. Now, that in theory is not a junior event, but he has been selected to play in the Walker Cup team at St Andrews. He's the third, I think he might be the second or the third youngest player ever to play in the Walker Cup. So congratulations to him. He's 17 years of age. Who do you think the three youngest are then? Is it the third or fourth youngest? I'm not sure exactly, but God, who do you think they are?
Okay, 17. Well, it's not going to be anybody under the age of 16, that's for certain. So 16 and 234 days.
Yeah, 16 years and 11 months. And that was Olive Fisher.
So basically almost right there.
Yes, almost right. So Olive Fisher is the youngest ever. The other two,
Olive Fisher.
The other two 17-years who played in this competition. So Olive Fisher, very good player, went on to play in the European Tour. The other two players were Ronan Rafferty.
Oh, yeah.
And a guy called Justin Rose, you might have heard of as well.
Don't think he made it, did he? Don't think he did anything in the game. Must have probably, that was as good as it got for him, I think.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Justin, if you're watching, which I know you're not.
Actually, he's very much into his junior golf. He backs the Daily Telegraph Junior Order of Merit.
He does, yeah, he does.
He may well be watching this, or someone. Look, if anyone knows Justin, please send him this podcast, and I will give you Ian's email address and mobile number, and you can speak to Ian and say, "How dare you say I've done nothing in the game?"
Well, I know, Steve, you think Dorset is my neck of the woods, but actually, North Hants Golf Club, where Justin hails from, is my neck of the woods. I'm from Fleet myself, which is where North Hants Golf Club is. So, and I broadcast there last year, did a Clutch Pro Tour event. So I know. So Justin, if you ever fancy, invite me around for a round up at North Hants. Doesn't matter when, I'll be available. I don't care when. If I've got plans, I'll just change them.
Yes. Right. So just to complete the picture then with the Walker Cup, then other players, other youngsters who were selected, Jack Bigham and Callum Scott, couple there. The oldest player in the whole team is Matthew McLean, who's 30 years old. I think most of them, I think John Goff is the next oldest, and even he, I think, is only 24, 25, something like that, you see.
Top bloke, John Goff as well.
Yeah, another top bloke as well, just missed out, was Tyler Weaver, who's one of the reserves. So 18 years old.
Another top bloke, Tyler Weaver.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know whether Tyler's plans are to turn professional or not, but if he's only 18 years old, you know, if he sticks around, he might will be in the team.
By the way,
in 2 years' time.
Just talking to John Goff, I know he's not a junior, but how on earth has he not gone pro yet?
Possibly to play in this, and I suspect he might will do afterwards. That might be his plan.
Yeah.
So yeah. Right. Actually, some teams have been selected. Other teams, apart from the World Cup, the Junior Solheim Cup has also been selected. That takes place in Spain on September the 18th and 19th. So we'll have another possible podcast before that. But the team has been picked by Guadis Nucero, and very interesting actually, because 6 picks and 6 automatic selections, and not a single British player in the entire squad. You know. And you have to say that there's a reason why. It's because the talent on European soil is fantastic. There are some seriously, guys, we well know there are some seriously good girl golfers who play in this country, but there are some very, very good players in
Steve,
Europe.
It's because of Brexit.
Yes,
that's right.
That's it. Yeah. Now,
let's not go down that
no,
road.
probably best not to. Yes. I'm not going to go through all the names of the players simply because they are so difficult to pronounce. So I'm not even going to try and pronounce them.
Do it.
No. Please don't put me through this. But what I will say is that some of those players have also been selected for the European Junior Ryder Cup team. He's been on this podcast on a couple of occasions before. Stephen Gallagher has selected his team, very similar to the Junior Solheim Cup in the sense of 6 automatic picks, and then he's picked 6 players himself. So 3 of the girls, in fact, all 6 of the girls who are in the squad are all playing in that Junior Solheim Cup team. So go on then. Let's see how bad I can do with this then. So Spain's Rosia Tejedo. Probably doesn't pronounce that anything like that, but there you go. I'm going for that. Sweden's Meja Ortegren, Helen Bream, who we just mentioned, who won the amateur championship, Nora Sundberg, Andrea Revoletta, and Francesco Froellini. How about that? Not too bad, my pronunciation.
Tell you what, I'll give you 7.5 out of 10 for that.
Okay.
Only because I don't know whether you're pronouncing them right.
No.
So if there is anybody watching from Spain or Italy or anywhere on the continent, please let us know and get you on as a guest to tell us how to do it properly.
Yes. So the boys selected are Chris Kim, as you'd imagine, Sean Keeling, Germany's Pierre Vernick, and so all 3 of those were automatically selected. The 3 picks are Conor Graham, surprise, surprise, obviously been playing very well and also playing in the Walker Cup. Italian Giovanni Benigay, and Ukrainians Lev Grinberg. So lovely the fact that Ukraine has obviously got some representation in that. Right, finally then, just if you like, an and finalist to it. I know you love doing these. Guess the score then. Right. So Kenilworth Junior Open, yeah. So the 9-hole Stableford, right? A young lad I know called Max Robinson from Whittington Heath. He won the competition, right? How many points did he get over 9 holes?
God, over 9 holes.
Yes.
This is to handicap.
Yes.
Okay, it's going to be good. Over 9, not 18.
No, 9 holes. Yeah.
And it's standard Stableford scoring.
That's it. Correct.
Okay, 20.
Very good. Yeah, 31 points.
What? Blimey.
So he had 2 net pars, 3 net birdies, 3 net eagles, and then on the other hole he had a gross par for 6 points. Right. So quiz question for you then, Ian. Right. So we know that an albatross is 5 points.
Oh God, yeah.
What is 6 points? What is if you get 6 points then? So it's birdie, eagle, albatross. What's next? We did the rules quiz the other week. We should have had this quiz question on there. I mean, give you a clue.
Does anybody know? By the way, comment below if you know the answer. I won't look. Comment right now if you know what comes after. What's better than that? I don't think you could. Is it like I mean, it's obviously bird related. So like, what's a red kite or something, or a golden eagle?
You can also go down the line. So it's going to have to be a big bird, isn't it?
Okay, like a falcon or I don't know, a giant penguin.
I'll put you out of your misery.
Emperor penguin.
It is a condor.
Oh, I could have got that. I could have got that as well.
Right. Okay.
I have heard that.
Right. And whilst I was doing my research, I found out what would be a 7-point score.
No, is that even possible?
Well, in theory, if Max had hold his 3rd shot from the fairway as opposed to getting a par, if he'd got a gross birdie.
Okay. So it's obviously bigger than a condor, which I thought was like the biggest thing. A bald eagle, they're massive, aren't they? It can't be eagle. Can't be eagle related, can it?
No. We had the eagle, haven't we?
Yeah.
What's the biggest bird?
I don't know. I'm not happy with my birds. You know.
Ostrich.
Get out. That's my favourite animal. Ostrich. An ostrich, really?
Yes.
Well, they are big.
Yes. Yes, I have to mention as well. There's a guy, a golf journalist called Clive Agram. If anyone's ever met Clive, he's a lovely guy, very funny guy, and he's wrote a brilliant book about lots of different things. And one of the things he has in there is talking about why is it that you have birds when you get below par. What about above par? You get bogey, double bogey, and that's it, triple bogey, quadruple bogey. Why don't we give those names? And he comes up with a very funny story about what names you should give those birds. And let's say that
pigeon.
Well, bear in mind this is a junior golf podcast. He picks the birds which are the least PC as far as birds are concerned. Blue, grey, yes, you've got it right.
It would probably make sense. Though,
all I would say is Clive's book is fantastic, and if anyone wants to get it, then I would recommend you get it. And by the way, the wording he was going to use was going to be the headline title of the book, and the publishers turned around to him and said, "No, you're going to have to change it."
But that's good. That is
anyway, good. Right, that wraps up the junior golf news. As you can appreciate, a little bit longer news than normal, just because hopefully Cara is going to be here, but by the looks of it,
no, Cara, yeah, it's not looking good, to be brutally honest, but I'm sure we will get her at some point. So if you have tuned in to see Cara, don't give up hope yet. Stay with us. She might come in. She might be in Europe, and it's 7:30 where she is, and 8:30 obviously here. So at the end, she might log in.
Yes. Yeah, good point. Yes, I hadn't thought of that. Right. Okay. But we've got plenty to talk about because we are going to be talking about other sports and golf. We've got pre-recorded interviews with people who can talk about it. And both myself and yourself have got a bit of experience of covering different sports and how that might affect golf. And hopefully we should be able to give you some sound advice and give you ideas. Right. First things first, then let's have a chat then with someone who we met earlier in the year. Then back in, was it February or March? Remind me again.
March.
Foursomes. It was in March. It was in early March.
Season, isn't it?
That's it. And we had a chat with Sir Andrew Strauss, who, of course, former England cricket captain. And first of all, just asked him about why he was there, why he was playing in the Sun and Neo foursomes, and how much he enjoyed playing golf. Did you start playing golf? Obviously, played cricket, I guess, from a very young age. What about golf?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not that dissimilar. I'm probably like 10, 11. Probably didn't start playing properly till 12, 13. But yeah, so I was playing when I was young: cricket, golf, rugby, tennis, everything really. So depending on what time of year it was.
And how wary were you of your golf, if you like, affecting your cricket, or vice versa? Or
yeah, I think my cricket affected my golf a bit. I think it's a different technique. Certainly, your lower body is very much side on. But my golf didn't really affect my cricket too much. I mean, I think I was probably if I was allocating practice time, it'd be 95% cricket and 5% golf. So the golf didn't really make that much of a difference.
But how much would you advocate to a parent or junior who's watching this and about playing different sports at a young age and learning different things from the different sports?
Yeah, I think generally I'm supportive of that. I think early specialisation, I think a lot of the research says that early specialisation doesn't particularly help you. So playing other sports, also having a break from your main sport just to refresh yourself mentally is important. And yeah, I mean, I played a lot of rugby and cricket in particular, and a bit of golf. So all of those, I think, helped me in some way with my main profession. And yeah, as much as anything, just you want to stop people burning out. I think that's the key. Like early, when you're in your teens, if you're just playing one sport, I think you can fall out of love with it. And if you fall out of love with it, then you don't want to do the practice and everything. So I think that stuff is more important than anything.
So that was Sir Andrew Strauss there talking about golf and his experience of when he first started playing. I actually played the videos the wrong way around. So we'll actually play the other video.
Oh, sorry, Steve. That was my fault. The other one said Andrew Strauss 2. So I assumed he didn't want me to play that until after. Sorry, everyone. I hold my hands out. Can we just talk about that quickly, actually? Because he did say, I know we'll probably touch on it, but he said something I thought very important in there. And he said it's important not to specialise at a young age too soon. And I thought, how accurate is that? But then he did go on to say 95% of everything he did was centered around cricket. So, but it's a very good point, isn't it? Because, as it's a shame we don't have Cara, because I'm sure she would have a great story to tell. But we've both spoken to plenty of golfers now I had a conversation with somebody who works in a pro shop up at Killick-Percy, that she's also a ski instructor. And in that process right now of deciding what to do, whether to take up golf and go pro, or at least take her PGA Pro exams, or whether to go back to, I can't remember where she does it, but whether to go back and do another season or two of ski instructing. So, but yeah, just very interesting. That was all.
Okay, we are going to talk more about specifically what Andrew just spoke about them, but let's just hear a little bit of his background in golf, the fact that he played in this event earlier this year, and how, you know, golf and cricket has been part of his life now for a fair amount of time. Let's hear the proper interview, if you like.
We'll play the right one now.
Foursomes then. How much did you enjoy playing in it?
Well, not as much as if we'd won, but no, I loved it. Like, I think that atmosphere this morning when you turned up there was a real buzz, a real expectation from all the people taking part, and obviously some quite famous faces walking around as well. So just to be able to be part of it, and, you know, for us, I suppose the ambition was, you know, to win a round or two rather than to win the whole thing. And yeah, disappointing we weren't able to do that, but yeah, just a really, really enjoyable day.
So as a former international cricketer, when you stood on that first tee, I know you didn't hit the first tee shot, but how nervous do you feel when you're playing a competition like this?
Yeah, I think there are some nerves there, but it's a buzz more than nerves. I think you know, there is. It's definitely easier when it's your number one sport. You know, when you know you've got great confidence in your ability. Whereas I think, you know, when you're playing a sport like golf, you know you're going to have to be a tiny bit off, and you can look pretty stupid. So there were one or two average shots there today, but there was some good stuff as well. It's a unique competition, though, isn't it? Because, you know, it matches amateurs against professionals, you know, celebrities, sportsmen like yourself as well. So I mean, with that in mind, is that how special a tournament is it for yourself, for the club? Yeah, I think I mean for Sunningdale, like this is you know, it's an iconic tournament. And I think for a lot of people to have the opportunity of playing the old course at Sunningdale is a very special thing. So, you know, I'm lucky I'm a member here, so I get it to play it all the time. But that gives you some advantages over some of the people playing as well. But yeah, it's a great event, and it's fantastic to see some of the really good women players here as well, and some Challenge Tour players, and a few of the European Tour players as well. So, you know, there, as you say, there's a good mix, and of course, you know, ultimately the game of golf isn't a great respect to reputation. You still need to get the ball in the hole, and that's the key. The fascinating thing I thought when he was talking about that was the fact that when he was talking about nerves and how easy it was when you know how to play the game. Now, obviously, someone who has played at the highest level, that when you're a youngster and you have to face that, which sport do you do? Do you do the one whereby you think you're going to be better at, or do you do the one you enjoy more? And obviously with him, it was easy. You made the point about 95% of the time he was probably practicing cricket as opposed to his golf. But where do you make that decision? At what point do you make that decision?
I think, you know, just focusing purely on Sunningdale there, it was a great question to ask him, because here's a bloke who's walked out at Lord's, you know, and the WACA and the MCG and places like that. You know, imagine walking out the MCG at the Boxing Day test and there's 90,000 screaming Aussies at you. You know, teeing it up at Sunningdale foursomes where there's probably 5 or 6 people stood around the first tee is probably a piece of cake to him, isn't it? But I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I think if you realise you've got a particular talent at a sport as a youngster, be it golf or be it football or be it cricket, I don't think you really think about what it's going to be like necessarily, you know, to walk out. I think that just, as you progress through the ranks, you know, when you're a junior golfer, you might have your mum or your dad, the starter, and your playing partners, mum or dad, walking around. So there's 5 or 6 people. Then you get a little bit further up, and then, you know, there's 10 people there, and then you get a bit further up and there's 20 people there. And I don't know, I imagine it just sort of naturally builds up. It's not like you go from nothing to 50,000 people. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if that's a factor, really. I think you love one or the other. I think it's very rare. It does happen. You hear it where sports people, I don't really care about the sport that they play. I know Ben White, who plays a defender for Arsenal, doesn't follow football, doesn't really like football, to be honest. Goes off, does nothing to do with football, but does it because he's good at it, and it's a way to make a very good living for himself. However, I think he's openly admitted he never goes home and watches football ever. Whereas I think that's clearly...
I was going to say, and there's obviously a famous example of a footballer in Wales who got into trouble and got a lot of stick on social media for apparently preferring to play golf than preferring to play football.
But I do think that came later, though. I would still say, Gareth Bale, when he was growing up, was probably obsessed with football. And then, perhaps was a very keen golfer. And maybe perhaps circumstances, and I don't know, I've never met Gareth Bale, I can't speak for him, but I would maybe hazard a guess at moving to Madrid, to Spain, where he doesn't know the language, he doesn't, know the culture, doesn't know the teammates, was out of his comfort zone, found a bit of comfort in golf, and that's where it really took from. But yeah, I don't know, it's very rare, isn't it? I think Sir Andrew Strauss made it quite clear that cricket was his focus from the off, and that was the route he was going to go down. When it comes to walking out of big venues, if it was me, I'd love to walk out of Wembley, but I'd also love to play at the Masters. I'd love to play at Lords. It doesn't really matter. I just like to be good at something.
Let's talk specifically then. Look at the different sports there. I mentioned the story there of Brian Lara who played golf and also played cricket on the same day, but didn't want his cricket to affect his golf. And Andrew Strauss made the point there in the sense of, obviously, when you're playing golf, generally speaking, you're trying to hit the ball up. When you're playing cricket, you're trying to hit the ball down. So it's obviously something whereby when you are playing different sports, I was actually going to invite him onto this podcast, but obviously it didn't quite work out with Cara. But there's a friend of mine called Tony Penberthy, who's a Northamptonshire cricketer. He was an all-rounder, and his son's a very good golfer, Ollie Penberthy. And he said that he struggles a little bit with his son in the sense of he plays cricket and golf. Try not to let his golf affect his cricket and vice versa, if you know what I mean, and try and almost like separate the sports, which is not easy because they're both striking a ball of some description.
You tend to find, though, don't you, that people who are good at one sport tend to be good at a lot of sports as well. It's just a natural ability. And no, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I was always quite good at sport at school, and I was part of the athletics team. I was part of the football team. I was part of the rugby team, even though I was only 5'7", but I had a knack at getting out of the way of people. I was never the best. Do you know what I mean? I was like never the number one guy, but I was always like the fourth best. Do you know what I mean? I was always like the fourth or fifth. So if there was a team, I was always on it, and I was always one of the slightly better players. And I think you see that a lot. If you're good at one sport, and certainly when it comes to all sports, if somebody's good at golf, then they'll probably be good at cricket because I know you're hitting one up, you're hitting one down. But it's a similar sort of idea, isn't it? Ball comes at you, or there's a ball. You've got to swing something at it, hit it, and make it go a long way. And that's, if you really dial it back, that's kind of what it is. And I think you find that with it depends how long how old your friend's son is, because now if he's at teenage years, then it is the time to start potentially.
I think he's 14 now. He plays off about 4 or 5, so he's obviously a very good standard golfer.
Oh yeah, I'll probably get that. And look, there's more money in golf, so I'd go down the golf route. But if you're 4 or 5 or 14, you're not just a very good golfer. Like Ian Poulter turned pro at 4. I know things are different now, but do you know what I mean? That's the type of level that we're talking about. If he's 14, the way that he can progress over the next 4 years, he'll be off scratch by the time he's sort of 15 or 16, maybe even younger than that, and then. That's when you need to seriously look at it. And, I don't know how good he is at cricket. I'm assuming he's good at cricket as well. He's still got time to work it out. He's still got time to work it out. But, I think with sports people, you do tend to find that they just take the hand to multiple sports. And that it's not just like, just good at cricket, but can't kick a football or can't swing a club or anything like that. You tend to find that they're good all-rounder at most sports, excel at a few of them. And some people are just brilliant at all sports, which is real pain.
Yes, not annoyingly. So it's interesting. I remember many years ago, at a golf club in Nottinghamshire, and Stuart Broad was there. and so was Craig Kieswetter. And I think it was just after England had won the first time that they won the T20 World Cup. And you just assumed that both of them would be good at golf. And Craig Kieswetter was, and Stuart Brewer wasn't.
Yeah.
He has since, from reading and listening to him during the Ashes series and him talking about, he's since, fallen more in love with golf now and plays a lot more golf and plays to a half-decent standard. But at the time, he wasn't that good at golf. But then, as we well know, golf is not an easy sport to master. There's also technically as well, which I was thinking, it's a shame that Cara isn't on, because I wanted to specifically make this point to her, but I'll make it to you. I used to play a lot of tennis when I was younger.
Yeah.
And in golf, what I tended to find, and actually quite a number of sports, I always tried to hit the ball too hard. I see this quite often actually with youngsters. They try and hit the ball as hard as they possibly can, which now they're almost like taught to do that. I was taught not to do it when I was younger because the equipment probably wasn't good enough to handle a club head going through too quick. So what I used to do is the top of my backspin, deliberately stop and then hit the shot. Now, it felt like about 5 minutes it was the top of my backspin. It was probably just a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
It felt like it was because he just stopped me. And I tried to do the same thing with my tennis. So as a serve, threw the ball up, stopped to the top, and then hit it. And I remember I wasn't good enough tennis player because obviously the throw could go anywhere and it didn't quite work kind of thing. It worked the golf, but didn't work with the tennis. But the irony about it was, I remember about 2 or 3 years after that, watching Andre Agassi change his serve technique, and he did exactly the same thing. Yeah. And me as I don't know, perhaps I was might have been 16, 17 at the time. I remember watching that thinking, Andre Agassi has copied me. He knows what I would do. But it's transferable skills from one sport to another. Sometimes it does work within one sport. Sometimes it doesn't work within others.
Yeah.
Okay, we are gonna hear from Ladies European Tour Pro Emma Spitz. So we will hear that interview in a moment then. But I just wanted to bring to the point, we will come into more detail about this, but team and individual sport as well. What can we mentioned football there, you mentioned rugby. What's the difference? What can you learn from different sports, the team and individual aspect? Because golf is an individual sport. Tennis is an individual sport, although you are still playing against another individual, where golf you're playing against yourself. But what can you learn from other sports, team sports, to bring back to golf?
I think actually when it comes to team sports, a big part of team sports is not wanting to let your teammates down, isn't it? So you do want to have a strong individual performance. As we know, golf is all about the individual. Even if you're playing for your country, it's, the Ryder Cup, for example, when it's that singles matches, you want to win for your country, but it's an individual. It's you're going toe to toe, one on one. Rory McIlroy is not going to suddenly just, I'll tell you what, Ian, I'll take this shot for you. Don't worry, mate. You chill out. Do you know what I mean? Like it's still a case of that. And golf, there is still a big team element as well. There's a lot more camaraderie, of course, with team sports. But I do think you can learn from both, because I actually play more football than I do golf. And if I play golf, I'm actually less stressed, because if I do a duff shot, then I'm the only one who loses out. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's my fault. Have a laugh, blah, blah. If I'm playing football and I do a terrible back pass, or I have an open goal and I miss, not only do I feel bad because I've let the team down, I also know that they're not going to let me forget it either. And so I think you learn responsibility is what you learn. And this is what you can actually take for golf. If you're going down the golf route, do get involved in team sports as well, because I think you learn a level of responsibility as well to your teammates, to yourself as well. And I think that's important, because I don't want to let anybody down when I play. And that's sometimes because I was always like the 4th or 5th best player. I wouldn't perhaps always allow myself to shine, because I'd want to go for it. But then, there's a 50-50 chance I'm going to lose the ball here, but I might get through and score. So I'll take the 75% easier option of passing to a teammate. So I think, you can learn responsibility, but don't let it take away from being you either as well. Okay.
All right. We are going to hear from Emma in a moment, but I just wanted one more point on as far as the team element is concerned. What about etiquette? Do you think you learn things more in the individual sport, and in particular golf? You learn better etiquette than you probably would do in a team sport with football. And then I'll bring in rugby, whereby the etiquette in rugby, the irony about it is, a more violent sport than football, but yet probably a better etiquette than football.
Yeah,
particularly towards the referee.
Yeah, I mean, you know where I stand with golf and etiquette. It's too much. It goes too far to the extreme, and that's another podcast in its own right. But it is an important lesson. You know, I do think people do learn to be a lot more respectful. Football, I do a lot of football. I play football. I have the luxury of commentating on football, and so it's a lot of it is atrocious. I do non-league football at times as well. I won't name the clubs, but I was at a game last Tuesday, and there was a fight outside the ground between rival fans, and you know, you just don't get that at other sports. And I know I don't want to label football, and I don't want to turn this into a football sort of podcast or anything, because it's not. It is about golf, but you wouldn't get that in golf. You just don't get it. And sometimes, being that individual sport where it is more about the rules, a bit more respect, it wouldn't be allowed to happen. The same with rugby as well. I don't know how they do it, by the way, because I'm not a massive rugby fan, to be brutally honest with you. I don't know how they do it, but they get it right, because you've got, I can't remember the referee's name. Was it Owen or something? Welsh lad.
Nigel Owen, yeah.
Nigel Owen, that's it. I mean, he's the same height as me. I'm 5'7". We're tiny. Do you know what I mean? But he's got these 6.5 foot tanks around him, and they're hanging on his every word, and they're like, yes, sir, yes, sir. And I don't know how to do it, but they do something right, don't they? And golf does it right. The rules are too much. The etiquette's a little bit too much for me. But I think you learn better etiquette if you're going to go down a team sport in any sport other than football, to be brutally honest with you.
Okay, right, let's hear from Emma then, because Emma Spitz, who plays on the Ladies European Tour, I had a chat with her at Centurion Park, discussed a few different issues, some of them which have been raised already, some of them which we will talk about on the back of the interview. This is right when we chatted a few weeks ago.
On the golf course, but for my parents, especially for my dad, actually, like, golf was, he was like, oh, that's not a sport, like, we're not doing that. We did everything else. We, like, you know, I played football, I played tennis, we went skiing a lot, and then I played ice hockey for 6 years. So I kind of played ice hockey and golf like at the same time, but before that I really tried everything except for golf. But I think it's like so important to, it really like helps you get such a good feeling for your body. And I mean, in golf, like, you know, we feel like different every day. The swing doesn't feel the same, you know, at all every day almost. And I think just like having the background of so many sports really helps you, like, you know, still be able to play even though it feels different, because you just know your body so well.
Technically, are there areas whereby you have to be a little bit careful? I'm just thinking perhaps hockey, whereby you are striking a ball.
Yeah.
Is it where you almost have to like say, I'm not a golfer when I play this,
yeah.
And vice versa?
I think so. I mean hockey. I think like while you're playing, I don't think you like think of other sports. I mean, the one thing in hockey was I started golf just before I started playing hockey, and then I guess a right-handed player in hockey technically plays like golf, like the left-handed side of golf. That would be a right-hander in hockey. But I started playing golf, and naturally I just went to like basically a lefty in hockey, because that was my normal side. So maybe that's different. But I think like once you like play the sport, I don't think you like think about the other sport. I think some sports, like more like injury wise, you don't want to, you know, get injured if you want to focus on golf and then play hockey and get injured there. That might not be so good. But I think in general, I think it's just like it helps so much to just do other stuff and get your mind off too.
I was just thinking about injuries, and in particular I'm thinking about skiing, because
yeah.
Obviously were you aware of that, obviously, when you were going to the golf ranks and becoming a better golfer? Don't get yourself injured doing another sport. Were you thinking along those lines sometimes?
I think you do a little bit, but I mean, I definitely like don't go skiing much anymore. Like we used to go skiing so much. Now if I get to ski a few days a year, that's like a lot. I'll go maybe every other year. But I'm less scared of like injuring myself just skiing, because I feel like I'm safe enough, but I'm more scared of like other people not being able to ski and running into me. So that's more like the issue. But yeah, I think definitely like you become more careful once you start focusing on just one sport.
And you also mentioned there the fact that it's good for you as a person to learn different sports. What did you take from those particular sports then? I'm just thinking perhaps something like skiing, whereby, I don't know, balance, things like that. Did that help when you brought back to your golf?
Yeah, I think it's not necessary that you feel it like, you know, like I feel the stability that I had in skiing, I feel it in golf, but I think like, you know, subconsciously I think it helps, you know, just the general like, you know, muscle strength and stuff like this. I think that really is going to help you.
What about competitively? Did you play all the sports competitively? Did you take that into your golf as well?
Yeah, I played hockey for like 6 years. We played for a team. We even won like a regional championship or like county championship, whatever you want to call it. So that was definitely competitive. Although it was like I started it as just for fun, and I just wanted to go to the like practice stuff because for me, you know, golf is just, it's so quiet and like you always have to be focused, and hockey was just like you can just go all out, which is like, you know, that was nice when I was a kid. And then it kind of became a little more, and I actually ended up, you know, playing like all winter and just playing like a game at least one a week. So that, yeah, that kind of, but I think it more like golf helped me like play hockey, like the, you know, the mindset, because, you know, like golf like helps you focus so much, and then when you go into hockey, like you can still focus.
So what would your advice be? We try to get advice from people. What would your advice be to a junior who's watching this about different sports? Would you encourage them to play lots of different sports and then specialise at a later date, or is that how you would go about it?
Yeah, I think so. I think especially when you're like really young, like from the age of, I don't know, 7, 8 to like 12, 13, I think just doing everything is, I think that's like so important. And then I think once it was, for me, it was like when I was like around 13, then, you know, I always knew, I think that golf was going to be the one that I'm going to choose, but that's really when, you know, people around me were like, okay, I think you need to, you know, choose like one thing, you know, and so I was like, okay, I'll choose golf for sure. But I think until that age, I think it's like you should really just try everything and just, you know, because at that time, like, everything is like, you know, everything's a game. Like hockey was a game, golf was a game, skiing, everything was just like about, you know, fun. And I think then it's when you get more serious, and then I think it's just really hard, like, to balance everything. Yeah.
So that's Emma talking about her experience of playing hockey and skiing as well, youngsters. So a few things which cropped up there, which maybe interest, injuries, and obviously juniors, as we well know, Ian, they get themselves into all sorts of trouble in the sense that they can break bones, they can injure themselves. You know, I've covered junior competitions I think this time last year, whereby I had 3 kids drop out with a broken wrist 3 days before the event. 3 different kids with the same injury kind of thing. You know, you just thought, Jesus, they must breathe them rough in this area if they're all getting, you know, breaking wrists at school and things like that. But obviously it is something which does happen to kids, and playing different sports means that you have more opportunities, if you like, to get injured.
It does, but you also recover a lot quicker at that age as well. You know, a teenager's going to recover from a broken arm a damn sight quicker than somebody who's 50. And I don't think it's, you know, it's just management. If you've got a big golf tournament coming up, for example, that starts on the Thursday, are you really going to go play 5-a-side football on a Tuesday night? You know, yeah. No. Well, you shouldn't. And if you do and you get injured, well, I don't know what to say really.
Well, I'll give you an example of that. This year, I've had, you know, many competitions I've ran whereby I've had a parent contact me and say, "What's the tee time?" And I'll say, well, 2, 3 in the afternoon. They say, "Oh, good, because he's playing football in the morning."
Yeah, I mean,
and obviously you don't want to say no, do one or the other. You know, in fact, I would prefer them to do both, kind of thing. But at the same time, the poor lad's probably shattered by that after, you know, and girls in some respects the same kind of. In fact, that has happened with girls this year, whereby I've had girls who've said, "I'm doing this particular sport in the morning and then coming to get to you," and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that might just be a case of then. It depends on the age, doesn't it? If we're talking juniors at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, then yeah, they got bundles of energy. They'll be fine. You know, it's fine. But when you start to get to sort of 15, 16, and the sports, you know, if they are playing football, are a bit rougher at that age as well. You know, the tackles will come in. They will be late. You know, there'll be you'll be left a mark on your ankle maybe, and things like that. Then I think it's just a case of do you really have to? You know, I've got an 8-year-old. And he's full of energy. He's played football tonight. You know, he's got another game on Saturday, and I wouldn't hesitate if you wanted to play golf Saturday afternoon, you know, in the assumption that he's not going to get injured, he's going to be absolutely fine. But I think it depends on age, to be brutally honest with you. I think it depends on the tournament as well. You know, if they're just going along and you know, you sort of know, don't you? Are they going to be good enough to win, or if they probably just, you know, did it because they enjoy it, then great, yeah, go play football in the morning and then come along. I don't know. I think if you're between 8 and 12, I don't think it really matters, to be honest, what you're doing. Just play sport, be active, have fun, and then when you start to get a little bit maybe into your teens, if you've got a big tournament on the Sunday afternoon, should you be playing football in the morning? That's not for me to say. You know, the chance of getting injured is small, realistically, in the grand scheme of things at this age. They are quite small. Like, we all get knocks and tumbles and things like that. Even, you know, I'm 38 and I play football. I play for a Sunday team and I play usually on a Thursday night five-a-side when I'm not doing other stuff. And I've not been injured. And I'm 38. You know,
and we're talking here as if golf will be their main priority, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Flip it the other way around. You know, use golf as an opportunity to relax away from your main sport. If your main sport is cricket or rugby or whatever, you know, or, you know, I don't know, it could be judo, it could be swimming, something like that. Then use golf as the opportunity. You know, there are ways whereby you can use golf to help your other sport, aren't there?
Yeah, and you're less likely to get injured playing golf. You know, to be brutally honest with you, it can be quite punishing on the body at times. So golf, but look, golf is a great sport all round. It's good for coordination. It's good for learning etiquette. It is good exercise. You know, it's a long old way round a golf course. It takes a long time. It's good for the brain as well. I think it's a really, really good sport if you want to play another sport as well. But it's no coincidence, isn't it, that whenever you have whether it's a cricket World Cup or a football World Cup or whatever, and they say, right, you've got a day off, what are you going to do? And you probably find 90% of them will say, we're going to go and have a round of golf. Well, do you know what? I'm involved, as you know, in motorsport quite a bit, and at all levels. And for Formula One drivers, or professional, you know, paid drivers, shall we say, not just Formula One, but, you know, endurance racing and things and bits and bobs like that, a lot of them in their contracts have that they're not allowed to play football. However, there's nothing that says they can't play golf. You know, same for most sports. A lot of them will say there's a high chance of getting injured playing something like football and rugby, of course. You know, they're not going to be playing rugby, sort of more physical contact sports. But golf, in fact, if anything, they tend to encourage it because it's good for the brain as well. Yeah, usually, unless you play like.
Do you think it's in Johnny Bairstow's contract?
yeah. I mean, you know, yeah.
Yes. Now, there's one other point as well, and this was a message which was sent to me. It was either yesterday, I think it was, when I mentioned the fact that we were doing a podcast about junior golf, and because this is someone who was going to play in a competition but can't because their daughter is playing, I think, hockey. Ironically enough, obviously with Emma just mentioned about her hockey, and she's the goalkeeper. And he said to me, it's expensive for him to buy the equipment to be a goalkeeper, you know, and then the cost of that, and then to go and play golf, the expense of golf as well. And obviously that's a factor which needs to be taken into account, the fact that it's not cheap to play 3, 4 different sports. You know, some sports are a lot cheaper than others. You know, we all know, you know, football, a pair of boots and a football, you can probably just about get away with it then, you know, whereas other sports are a lot more expensive.
Well, actually, it's funny you mention that, because I know we're sort of over the hour mark now, but it's a good point to make. And it's not just the expense, which is a factor. It is the tiredness of a kid. And I don't want to contradict myself and say, oh, they're full of energy. They are, but I've got an 8-year-old, as I said before. He plays football. He does football match on a Saturday and trainings on he's got training on a Monday. Then he does another football training on a Tuesday, and he has a match on a Saturday. He also wants to do this Ninja Warrior Club thing on a Thursday. Well, if you look at that, then he's got school all day, Monday through to Friday, of course. He's got school. Then Monday, Tuesday, he's got football. Wednesday, at home. Thursday wants to do this Ninja Warrior thing. Friday, he has swimming lessons. Saturday, he plays football. And there is a worry that, you know, there's the burnout worry. And then there is the cost as well, because, you know, we have to pay 2 football subs essentially to 2 different clubs. We have to pay for this Ninja Warrior thing. We obviously have to pay for swimming lessons as well. It's 4 different clubs we have to pay for each week. And it adds up. And then if we suddenly wanted to chuck golf or tennis or anything else into the mix, when do you do it? First of all, time is the issue. And then there is the cost issue. It's like, well, look, if we're paying for all of this stuff, something's got to give. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, I use the example of my 8-year-old because that's the position I'm in. But I imagine it probably gets worse as they get a little bit older, you know. So cost and time are big factors too. And
we're talking here time for the child. What about time for the parent? Because you can't. In a lot of those instances you're talking about, it's not as if you can just drop them off and leave them there. You may well have to stay with them.
In none of those instances can we drop and just go. Do you know what I mean? We have to stay. So we're committing the time as well. And, you know, you do it. But, I mean, imagine then we've just got the one child, but imagine if you've got 2 or 3 as well, and they all want to do it. So, yeah, time and cost are huge, huge factors. But, you know, you want to encourage them to do what they want to do. And at some point, if they show a particular knack and something like they really, I mean, even if they don't show a knack, but they really enjoy it, you know, you want to encourage people to stay active, don't you? But, yeah, it's difficult, but I'm a big advocate of exercise, and exercise in sport is even better because you don't even realise you're exercising half the time. Do you know what I mean? It's not like going down the gym, which I'm a big fan of as well. But, you know, if I said to my wife, let's go down the gym, she'd be like, oh. If I said, oh, do you fancy going to play badminton for an hour? She'd be like, oh, yeah, it sounds really fun. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm all for it.
All right, look, we tried to cover as much as we can in this without obviously talking to Cara. It would have been fascinating to hear her life story. But like you say, we're going to try and get her on the podcast at some stage because you know, I think it's a story which needs to be told, and we can just basically dedicate the whole podcast to her. But thanks very much for obviously for Andrew Strauss for talking to us, Sir Andrew Strauss, and also LET Pro Emma Spitz. Thanks for Ian for standing in. A lot better looking than Cara. No, not really.
No, absolutely
not even slightly. No. Right. So future podcasts which we've got coming up, we're going to do one on turning professional. So obviously there are lots of different avenues to go down. We can go down the car route of trying to do it as a tour professional or playing professional. You can go down the PGA route. You can go down working in a shop. You can go down working in the store. Yeah. There are different aspects to, but. You know,
being pro doesn't mean just playing on tour, does it? That's
it, absolutely. You know, and even within that, there are certainly different levels within tour whereby you can make a living as a player. You know, you don't have to if you don't think you're good enough to play, you know, against the likes of Ian Poulter and Rory McIlroy, you may still be able to make a living as a pro. You know, as a travelling pro, you obviously cover some of the tour levels. You know, around the UK, whereby people make a decent living out of doing it and have a good time as well. So. So lots of different aspects to talk about with that. We're going to do another one on social media in junior golf as well. Social media, as we know, Ian, massive within the world, full stop. Very important in junior golf because obviously these are the people who know how to work social media, certainly a lot better than I do anyway, and possibly even know a little bit more about it than you do as well, Ian. Yeah. So fascinating to get them to talk about it. And we've got a serious one coming up, which is going to be in line with World Mental Health Day. We're going to be doing one on mental health in junior golf as well. So a more serious subject, but one which needs to be tackled and one which we're going to look at in some detail. So there are 3 podcasts we've got coming up, but we've got lots of different ones as well. And as we've mentioned on this podcast on many occasions, if you think there's a subject which we can cover, you think there's something which we should be covering, then get in touch because we will listen to it, we'll do something about it, we'll get some guests on, and we will cover those topics because there are lots of things out there which we want to help people in junior golf. And you know, we're here to help you, we're here to help golf clubs, we're here to help counties, and also we're here to help media organisations as far as golf is concerned because you know, that's where our expertise lies, and hopefully we can help people out. So thanks so much, Ian. Thanks so much to Andrew, and thanks so much to Emma, and thanks so much for watching. We shall see you soon.
Bye-bye.